what you're saying about the Icosa pools when I mentioned that low liquidity, and we'll just start from there if you don't mind.
Okay, so we'll reiterate at the beginning that it all started at zero. We've only had, it hasn't even been 90 days yet, and we've had zero actual inflationary events happen. Nor has the auction started. And the liquid supply of Icosa is only 467,000, right? Give or take a couple hundred, because I'm not going to tell you.
Meaning, that means the market cap is really low too, which some people like that.
Right. But the pool size for Icosa staking is 18,085,892.
Oh, that's not liquid at all counted as, I guess that's off chain.
That is staked, right? Yeah, exactly. So what happens to the Icosa when you stake it is it's burned out of existence. It disappears. So when you use like the buyback, and like at the very beginning on day one, and you use the buyback and you get a couple thousand Icosa, you're a fucking whale, right? Everybody's a whale that day. So, and then it just gets kind
right. And just like Zen day one, for example, because it was a mint phase, it's like if you did all 1 day mints, no one else did that. So you have all the liquid supply at that moment of all time, but it's only day one. And then the next day dilutes, or whatever. Every math is different for the different product.
Yeah, and your minimum staking length was determined at 360 days for everybody if they went in staking on day one too.
And a lot of people did that and didn't know it. And I'm just going to be honest about that. That's probably good for Icosa, and good for them at the end of the day. But I think a lot of people did that and they were like, "Holy crap! I thought I could take this out."
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, there's so many different angles to take it, but the generalized understanding is that me actually making those numbers relevant, right? The liquid supply being 467,000 versus the staked amount being almost 18.1 million, is that all of the supply. Now think about this: the community has this amount allotted to them for the staking amount. And they haven't had an opportunity to do anything with it yet. So all of it's staked. So when these events happen, we'll see what the community does with it, right? Just like any
I think
other
all the liquid Hex is going to dump. I mean, all the liquid Icosa is going to dump before those things come. The biggest one.
You need to have liquidity.
I know. That's what I was saying. There's not enough to dump. You're right. That's what I was trying to tell everyone. I was like, there's nothing to dump. Big players cannot dump.
Right. So the people that can provide liquidity and create a dominant position in those liquidity pools are going to find it probably more advantageous to not provide liquidity and continue to earn yield in the capacity in which they're earning it at, because it's such an advantageous thing. Because dollar to dollar value, they're able to actually see what the difference is if they're actually involved in all the pools. Right? Like if I'm involved in Hedron staking and Icosa staking, I can see how many dollars in dollar terms I put into one and another and see which pool is more diluted, and then make my decisions on which one I want to participate further in, because I probably rightfully so, me personally, at least for Icosa, have the opinion that it's new and that the majority of the communities on the how do I figure out a position where I can continue to get more, right? Build this mining equipment and how it works, understand how it works. That is through the mechanics of burning Hedron into submission pretty much of the circulating supply. All these mechanics make more sense that after the inflationary periods happen, that if you teach the community how to utilize these assets, then things like having liquidity, the importance of providing liquidity and being the dominant people that provide that liquidity for the router and teaching people how to
Where is the teaching? Who's teaching that? I've seen Hex go on for 1,200 days. Not a person I'm talked to knows about the liquidity pools except for like real experts.
I guess it just depends on which watering hole you're actually in.
Well, no, what I'm saying, like, as someone who just speaks to the internet a lot, like, it's just like, I would say, like, just the general audience is what I'm going to, like, there's some very smart, rich people that watch me. Generally, the average Joe would watch, and, like, newbies. But I mean, I remember asking Whales Only if providing liquidity was a good option, and he told me that if I didn't have $100 million, I wasn't going to make good yield. And I remember thinking that was true for 3 months. And when I realized that that wasn't true, I stopped listening to every word he had to say for the rest of eternity.
It depends on the liquidity pool. It depends on the size of the liquidity pool that you're trying to play in.
Well, no, it depends on understanding what's going on, and that's what no one does.
Well, okay. There's a lot of, when you're providing liquidity and you're a serious liquidity provider and you're not short-term in it, then there may be a certain amount of, you're not putting all your eggs into one liquidity pair, and you're paying more attention to the volumes per 24 hours on the fees that are coming in, and you're making that more valuable of an understanding of a data set that you collect than anything else. And
yeah,
so
but when we're talking about yield, like he'll talk about yield and all this stuff, and I'm like, wait, I get DeFi yield every day. I look at my ETH pool and it goes up every single day.
Yeah,
every single day my ETH, whether it's ETH Hedron or ETH Hex, and I don't do it with my full bag. I ain't stupid. I mean, I'm not a god mode liquidity provider by any means. And I try to keep my ranges real tight and then watch it because I'm active on my computer and I'm learning right now. So, But that makes, just saying, like, I've made way more money doing everything that everyone told me they didn't understand or like wasn't a good idea.
And that's good.
Except Richard. Like, the only person that did was Richard. Richard said all those things are a good idea, and I utilize them all the time. But all his minions told me that I was retarded.
I think that you're open and susceptible to learning more market maker type of mentality, which is not necessary. I mean, you can have market maker trader mentality where incentivizing trading is good for 24-hour volume in certain pairs. So you may be that type of market maker in some respect. And you can be communal, right? And I think that the behaviors in which, how you handle your assets when you're a market maker is generally decided by the biggest players. And so if you want to be a big
point, super good point. Now that I'm opening that up, because I did it on ETH POW really heavy. Like, I was probably one of the bigger dudes on ETH POW Hex for a while, but that wasn't a lot of liquidity, so it wasn't a big deal, right? US dollar wise, it wasn't a lot. So it was interesting to watch, because the only reason I was really doing that and feeling like it was cool is really because I got a feel for like what it was like to actually provide liquidity. Because let's be honest, when you provide liquidity in the Hex or the Hex USDC pool, you're under the mercy of whatever big man wants to do, and he does it. He don't tell and ask. And I'm not saying Richard, I'm not saying anyone. I just say the guys that are moving that liquidity, and they move it and they adjust it really quick, and then the price moves really quick. So like, I can understand what you're saying, right? Like, I love to learn, and I think that's maybe where I like differ. It's less about market making and more about I just want to know everything.
I mean, it's not, God, it's easy for me to be like, well, it's not that tough, but I guess it depends on your perspective and where
it's like, just pattern recognition. You just need to put hours behind the eyeballs looking at a couple of these things and clicking around. And that's why I think ETH POW can be a really good opportunity for some of the new guys to learn how to provide V3 liquidity on Uniswap without paying any gas fees.
Yeah, it's cheap. Yeah, I mean,
to learn, not to like make money. I don't want to make it feel like I'm trying to pump my bags or nothing. I'm not like that right now. I don't care.
I absolutely agree. I never really thought of it like that, I guess, honestly.
Dude, I'm telling you, when Gwei was like, just think about this for a second, because it's bigger than just, I pay really close attention, and I'm like more of a user-based level guy, so I have some different perspective. It's like, when Gwei got to like $50-$60 the other day, and I was just like, yeah, that's just not me right now. I can't, that just seems negligent for me. And there were plays I want to make. I said, you know what I should do? I should go back to ETHW and play around and see if any, and I went over there and everything was low again. And I said, hey, speculate a few $100, start providing liquidity again over here. And I did that yesterday. Nothing crazy, guys, seriously. And I realized I didn't pay one fee. No fees. I paid $3 in fees. I did like 100 transactions.
When you say tight range, like how many decimal points out are you going here?
Well, it depends, because on Uniswap, it'll actually show you the range, right? like on the regular Uniswap on Ethereum, you get to see the full chart and play with the range. So like to full range if I'm doing like a serious Uniswap position because I'm sketched out that I'm just going to get popped on one side. But again, my positions on Ethereum aren't very big because I'm still scared because the gas fees are crazy and I don't have that much. But on ETH POW, you can't see the chart. Okay, so like if you're looking at the V3 Uniswap liquidity providing front end, on Ethereum, there's a full chart, full range, but this is kind of a copy and it's not fully synced in, so you can only see the numbers. I think that when the liquidity's low, right now it's super low on ETH Hex, just like Hexecutioner was saying about Icosa being low liquidity, so not too many people can sell. I feel the same way about ETH Hex at this point, being that there's crazy crashes. Really, there's nothing underneath of it, so the range wouldn't be so much lower, maybe 33% lower, but like 100% higher, and then I'd keep an eye on it like daily, or at least once.
But you'd have to have an initial understanding that the price is going to go up through your range or down through you. Now, you can almost guarantee that as soon as you put liquidity underneath the price with actual value, that it's going to go down through it, devaluing your whole bag.
Well, that's why you do. Yeah, that's why you can't do it with real value if you're not like super laser focused. Like it's just not even like Sam does it, but Sam does it with a lot of money, and Sam knows he pays attention like every 3 minutes. So it's like a little different for him. He's neurotic. He's like completely weird.